and welcome to HBCU 101.
I had all the no's, but I got that one I didn't give up.
Spelman's in the building.
Drum major for Morehouse's House of Funk. What's up, everyone, and welcome to HBCU 101. I am your host, Jaleel Thurman. HBCU 101 is a show that will take you all over the nation, give you the ins and outs of HBCUs, a little taste of that HBCU flavor. On today's episode, we talk to a Grambling State University alum on how he took over the NASCAR industry. But before we get into that, let's check out our HBCU news and see what's buzzing in our community.
Jaleel, what's up, man? I'm still stuffed from the holidays. We were talking pies last week, but there's another appetite that's out there, and that was the appetite for Howard University basketball because they had history in a 5-star recruit this year. McCord Maker, the first ever 5-star recruit to sign with an HBCU. Well, he made his debut last weekend, but he only played in 2 games. They were both losses, and now he's sidelined indefinitely with a groin injury, and it begs the question, will he ever come back to play for Howard University? Is a pro career on his horizon? So a lot of people talking about that. We don't have a lot of answers, but the debut and sudden pause of McCord Maker at Howard University, not what we expected heading into the holidays. But that's the news for now. More HBCU 101 now with Jaleel Thurman.
Those that grew up with him just know him as a kid from New Jersey, while many know him now as being one of the few African Americans to own a NASCAR team. HBCU 101 is excited to sit down with Grambling State University alum, entrepreneur, and owner of the New York racing team, Mr. John Cohen. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the invite. Appreciate you.
Nice. It's always a pleasure to have the Graham fam in the building. You know,
yes, sir.
Y'all bring a different type of energy from that New Orleans, that Louisiana, that Grambling, Louisiana. That energy you guys got is different in the swag, so it's a pleasure to have you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's talk about it. I mean, you're from New Jersey. Now, I'm from Chicago. You know, and so I know getting from Chicago to Virginia State, that's a lot of miles. I mean, for yourself, New Jersey to Grambling, Louisiana, how did you find your way to the Graham fam, and what was that experience like?
Well, I played football in high school, so my school, when we graduated, was number 2 high school in the country at the time, number 2 and number 4.
Okay.
USA Today. So we was highly recruited athletes all over the country, like most of the whole team. I wanted to go to a black college. I was basically the only one that wanted to go to a black college. And at the time, like, my coaches was pretty much, black and white coaches, but majority white coaches. And they looking at me like, why would you want to go to all black school? Like, they were looking at me like I'm racist almost, like, because I wanted to go to all black school. I remember, because back then, like everybody, like TLC, everybody used to run Russell everywhere, like these sweatshirts back in the day. It was big. So I used to always wear mine to school, and they was looking at me like, why do you want to go to all black school? What is it that I wanted to play for Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson was the winningest coach in history, and I wanted to get the knowledge from him for football. So that's what I reached out to them, sent videos, they sent back, they sent the trip. I went down there, loved the school, loved the feel of a black college, and I signed to go to school there for scholarship.
And how do you feel about the decision that you made? I mean, that's a unique story because you were a top tier athlete. You could have probably went anywhere in the world. You said, no, I want to go to an HBCU, especially in the times that we're in now. You have athletes switching from PWIs to HBCUs. What was going through your mind when you signed, with Grambling, and were you excited? Like talk to me.
I was probably one of the best decisions I made in life going to HBCU. Grambling, when you got down there, it was a different feel. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere, so the whole campus is its own community. Like, you get to know everybody. It's not like you're in the middle of the city that you know everybody that went to Grambling. And the school pride, like, it was, if we wasn't winning football games, the band was going out challenging people. So, like, it was a big deal when I got there. Like, when I got there, it was like Erykah Badu was in school, but she wasn't Erykah Badu yet. You know, E40. It was like a different feel when I got to Grambling. It was. I met people from all over the country that I didn't know in high school. Like, people from New Orleans, Chicago, from LA. You know, we all in one, all black, all having fun, all young. So I didn't know about, you know, fraternities as much as I did when I first hit the campus and seeing like people going over in my freshman year. So it was an eye-opening experience actually going to HBCU.
Yeah. Now you hit on something really important and really cool is Erykah Badu was there, E40 was there, and they were just students. And then now everybody knows who Erykah Badu is and E40 and yourself. And then you talk about just the different walks of life that you meet from Chicago to LA. To me, that's what really makes the HBCU experience is when you're able to really meet different people and start to really understand their swag. I mean, you're from New Jersey and I'm from Chicago. So when I used to hear people, they used to be like, Jersey, you know, and then Jersey had their own swag from up top, you know, and then I had my own Midwest swag, and you start to bring it together. Now, what was one of your most memorable moments, you would say, while you were at Grambling?
Just winning the 400 game with Eddie Robinson, to tell you the truth. Like, when we won that game, that put him in the history books at the time as a winning a coach over Joe Paterno. So, I mean, Eddie Robinson, hands down, goes, you know, college history, college coach. You know, if a college coach wins, you know, the coach of the year is the Eddie Robinson Award. So just being around him was like a big deal. I didn't realize it at the time how much of a big deal it was, but as I got older, I realized how influential this man was as far as black college football.
Yeah, and that's dope that you got to actually experience that and being in that aura that I know is euphoric, right? And so I'm happy for you that you got to experience that because you essentially helped make history yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but what I want to talk about is some more history that you've made within NASCAR. But before we dive into that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. It's Jalil, it's John. You guys stay tuned. It's HBCU 101. We'll be right back.
HBCU 101. Welcome back to HBCU 101.
Welcome back to HBCU 101. I am your host, Jalil Thurman, and I have Jersey finest, Graham fam finest, Mr. John Cohen here with me, and we're talking NASCAR. But before we get to that, John, I got some trivia for you.
All right.
So let's check it out. What is the oldest HBCU in the state of Florida?
Bethune?
It is not Bethune. It's a small school in Jacksonville called Edward Waters College. It's a small school. But yeah, I knew you might have thought FAMU, but
I was thinking FAMU. It couldn't be FAM.
It couldn't be. Too easy.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right.
Now, John, let's talk your career. You are an entrepreneur and you've invested in many different things from nightclubs and other ventures. However, you took your talents as an entrepreneur and dove into NASCAR. Why?
Well, I mean, initially, so I started a trucking company when I came from college. 3 years after college, I started a trucking company. I built that up, and then I went to a mortgage company. So I started investing from there. And then growing up in Jersey, in New York area, nightclubs, most of your friends do music, do stuff like that. I wanted to do something totally different, something in a different lane, because I was basically not fulfilled with the business things. You got to do what you love when it comes to business. And I was loving, the money that was coming from my business, but I wasn't loving it. It wasn't a passion that was there for me yet. So I needed to find my passion, and passion was racing. So I figured, I know enough people, to help me out with sponsors, or at least connect me to the right people that can get sponsors once I get into the sport. And that's what made me get into. I always loved racing. I was, grew up on motorcycles, grew up racing, drag racing and stuff. So racing was always in the blood. It just needed to find that niche in the NASCAR scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what has that been like? I mean, you hear a lot of HBCU alums that are either, in the music industry and the talent industry and media. You hear them as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Just a plethora of different spaces. But you're the first one I've ever heard that is in the NASCAR space. So what has that experience like being an owner, and how does that make you feel of just being one of few?
I mean, it's not. It hasn't been easy. I'm in a space that normally, African Americans don't tend until now, like, even pay attention. I came in 2008, and it was pretty much a handful of us, like, just in the garage area. So now, over the last decade, NASCAR has built up a good diversity department as far as bringing pit crew guys in. So it's been a long journey, but nothing happens overnight. Change doesn't happen overnight. But I feel like now NASCAR, the way it's going, is, we'll see the next decade what happens, but I think it's going to be a lot easier for me going from now on.
And over your time, I mean, of course, you're going to have your down times, your up times. What has been one of the most memorable moments for you being a NASCAR owner of the New York racing team?
When I made my first Daytona 500.
Okay.
Because I was like, Daytona 500 is a pinnacle of racing.
Right. And
always me being, maybe not run a full season part, you had to actually qualify in. So qualifying with NASCAR is, you run a lap, qualifying lap, and then you have to race your way in. So it was just one of those years, like, I need to race my way in. So, when I made the Daytona 500, that's like, I'm one of the first teams since 1963, minority-owned teams, to make the Daytona 500. So that was like a big deal for me.
You have some really big names in the same space as you, such as Michael Jordan, such as Brad Daugherty. How does that make you feel to be in those spaces with these unique individuals?
Well, I mean, with Brad Daugherty, he's one, I could say with him, anytime I called him, he was there to help. He was one owner, that, if I called him for, advice on certain things, or I didn't like something that happened, he was there. Okay. I mean, I have never met Michael yet, and I hope, just being in the same space, we can, speak on levels of certain things. But, I'm happy to see that 23 out there with Bubba Wallace. So, that's a big deal. But, I just want all, more African-American drivers. I want more African-American PR marketing in NASCAR. It's just not about the owners at this moment. We want to make sure that, all these spaces is filled with people that look like us.
Yeah, that's a very good attitude to have. And I think you're at the table to make that happen. And having the opportunities to be in the rooms and spaces that I'm sure you wish you had when you were first getting started. I'm sure you're going to be able to open those doors for different individuals that are coming from HBCUs to be able to have that impact. So I commend you for even sticking to it, because that in itself can get difficult along the way.
Yeah, there's plenty of times I want to quit. So many times I just want to say, this is not for me. But like, I had other white owners that told me, like, John, don't quit. We've been doing this for 40 years. Times we didn't race the way we raced. Like, we still, both you are, but, just keep pushing. Like Wood Brothers, like teams, original teams, that. So, I mean, it was certain times I wanted to quit because, back then, it was, when I started, it was, you had to qualify in races. It wasn't just show up like the way it is now. You had to basically. So if I missed a race, I was like hurt. So it goes back to Grambling, actually. It goes back to Eddie Robinson. Like, when we used to lose a game, the first thing you say is you have no pride in yourself. Like you're not supposed to lose. We come out to win. So I always kept things that man told me at HBCU, at the Grambling, that stuck to modern day stuff that I do now.
I got you. And that's what happens. People really have a long-lasting impact on you, and you take that for the rest of your life. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about what Grambling has done for you, but we'll do that after we return from the break. It's HBCU 101. It's Jalil. It's John. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's time now for Did You Know, brought to you by HBCU Pride. Did you know in 1887, Central State University began as a 2-year normal and industrial department founded at Wilberforce University, the first privately owned HBCU by African Americans.
HBCU 101. Welcome back to HBCU 101.
Welcome back to HBCU 101. I am Jalil. We have John here with us. Grand Fam is in the building. Now, John, before the break, you talked about your football coach at Grambling and the impact that he had on you. I think that in many HBCUs, we have either a persons, or we have experiences that are long-lasting, that have a long-lasting impact on us and how we maneuver life after college. So, for example, I always say that HBCUs teach you how to adapt. And you can adapt to any environment. I mean, you came from New Jersey, you went to Grambling, Louisiana. I know that was a culture shock. I know that was just a different change of scenery for you, but you adapted. And now you've been able to adapt in the different spaces that you're in now. If you had to give an example or express to people, what does Grambling mean to you, or what did Grambling State University do for you?
Grambling put me on a page of Black excellence. It was like you went to that school, like we had the #1 football team as far as, football. Like it wasn't just in Black colleges. It was like, you mentioned Eddie Robinson's name at the time. It rang bells. It gave me a pride. Like, this school, is a big deal. And the band gave pride. You see the fraternities, sororities. It just, everybody on the campus, they felt a pride of Black excellence. And I think, and nobody was ashamed to feel that way on campus. And I think that's what the biggest thing HBCU give you, a sense of pride that you may not feel, at home or in your high school, but when you get to a HBCU, it's an experience that you will never forget.
Nah, I have to agree. And those that impact that it gives you and how they feed into you, I think is what I love most about HBCUs, is that you may not necessarily have every professor feeding into you, right, the same way, but you'll have one or two along the way that treat you like your son, or a daughter or a grandchild, whatever the case may be, and it keeps you going. It's like that family. And I guess you've experienced that, and that's where that whole Gram fam really came from, is that camaraderie and family experiences that you do get at Grambling. Yeah. For the people that are out there, you've been doing a lot, but what is next for you?
Next is, I work with the Urban Racing School of Philadelphia. So my next thing is to get more kids into NASCAR. I want to see more Black drivers in the sport. I feel like, our sport is only represented by 1% right now. Okay. And it has to change on levels, because there's a lot of, Black kids that want to be engineers. They want to be race car drivers. They just don't know where to start. So the Urban Racing School of Philadelphia is like a passion of mine there. I'm on the board, and I teach kids how to, get into racing. So that's my biggest passion, to bring that all over the country. And even kids at HBCUs, like, pull up with the truck and explain to, if you want to do engineering, if you want to do PR, there's a job in NASCAR for you somewhere in one of these teams. So we just need to help you navigate to that lane.
Got you. And just create that pipeline.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what it's about. It's about lifting as you climb. It's about going back to your community, what made you who you are, and giving those same opportunities to those students. Because I'm sure, just like opportunities were given to you that had a long-lasting impact, the opportunities that you'll give to students will do the same.
Yeah, they just need to see that, it's somebody like them doing that thing they may like, and they don't see it. So if they see and they can relate to me, they're like, all right, I want to do this. Yeah. And it might be a whole new path that they've never been through before. Exactly.
And that's what it's about. Now, before we let you go, it's time to play I Got 5 on It. Now, I Got 5 on It is a game where you choose who or what or this or that in which you have 5 on. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, you mentioned the bands, you mentioned Grambling and how big the band is. I'm going to keep it in a swag. Mm-hmm. If you had to choose 5 on, who would you choose 5 on? Would it be the Human Jukebox at Southern, or would it be the Sonic Boom at Jackson State?
Oh, I would have to go Southern.
Okay.
I would have to keep it in the boot, in the Louisiana boot, keep it with Southern.
I got you. Now, as a team owner, Who would you rather driving and racing for you? Would it be Terrence J or would it be Lance Gross? Who you got 5 on?
I'm gonna got 5 on Terrence J.
I got you. That was easy.
Yeah,
That was easy.
Yeah.
Now, John, before we let you go, let the people know where they can go to keep up with you and everything that you have going on, and then even how they can be involved in any capacity with what you got going on.
Our Instagram is John Cohen NY. It's John Cohen New York NY. The Urban Racing School is UIRS. You can go to their website. You can look and see what's going on if you have a kid or anything that want to get into racing. My team is New York Racing, New York Racing Team on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. But besides that, I mean, you can hit me on any social media aspect and I'll respond. Let people know that I'm one that want to help the people.
Hey, and that's what the people need. We need more people like you that's willing to help the people. John, I want to say thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you talking NASCAR and all that good stuff. Now I'm intrigued. I need to go and get some more information so I can get involved.
When all this is, the tracks are back open, I definitely want you there.
Oh, say no more. Say no more. It is Jalil. It is John. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It's time now for HBCU Wall Street 101's Health is Wealth. December is HIV Awareness Month. Talk to your partner about HIV testing and get tested before you have sex. Go to www.gettested.cdc.gov to find an HIV testing location near you.
HBCU 101. Welcome back to HBCU 101.
This week, the Wear Brims Spotlight shines on Devin Barnes from Wiley College. Devin is the founder of Barnes Academy, the first Black-owned baseball academy in the state of Louisiana. They specialize in training athletes at all levels, from baseball to basketball and more. Devin Barnes, proud alum of Wiley College. If you know someone who should be highlighted in the Wear Brims Spotlight, reach out to us at info@hbcu101.com. Jalil.
And that's it for today's episode of HBCU 101. I want to send a special thank you, shout out, and happy birthday to our guest today, Mr. John Cohen, for stopping by and giving us the scoop on everything from Grambling State University, NASCAR, and what we can expect from him today. For the entire crew, I am your host, Jalil Thurman, and I'll see you next week.